Our special guest tonight is a fella who has the most interesting story, at least one of the most interesting that I ever heard, and I've interviewed a lot of people around the United States, Burton Gilliam. I'm going to play some video clips of his career. He has been in 52 movies. But I want to play a few clips just so you get an idea of few of the things that he has done in his career, and then we're going to have a little conversation.
Howdy, folks. Let's all put our hands together and pick up the pace. We've been picking up the pace for 50 years.
Here you go. You come back to see us again real soon.
I'll have a juice for gum, please.
Here you go, my little beauty. Want I should chew it for you?
Say, you know that red-headed lady that comes down here named Miss Trixie Light?
Yeah?
Well, she thinks you're real cute.
Oh, yeah? Says you and who else?
No, honest, she says you're better looking than Dick Powell.
She did, eh? Well, the lady's got good taste, don't she?
Well, just thought you'd like to know.
Hey, just a minute. You leave here to the lady and tell her there with Floyd's compliments.
Supposed to been here over an hour ago, boy.
Well, traffic was murder. You know, one of those manure spreaders jackknifed on the Santa Ana. God-awful mess. You should see my shoes. Whew. It's well used.
He's back and forth to Utah every weekend.
Oh, is that right? What is he, a Mormon?
I don't think he's doing a whole lot of singing with the Tabernacle Choir. Anyway, what you do is you just ease that hammer back there and squeeze off around. No. Right on out there and be real smooth. That's the way you do it. Oh, God.
Listen, can I try that again?
Yeah, go ahead. Hey, just tell me one thing. Where did you learn to shoot like this?
7-Eleven. Now, come on, boys. Where's your spirit? I don't hear no singing. When you was slaves, you sang like birds. Come on, how about a good old work song? I'm getting a kick from champagne. Mere alcohol doesn't thrill me at all. So tell me, why should it be true that I get a belt out of you? Some get a kick from cocaine. Hold it, what the hell is that? I'm in a song, a real song. Something like, swing low, sweet chariot.
Swing low, chariot, but
Don't know that one, huh? Well, how about the Camptown Ladies? The Camptown Ladies. The Camptown Ladies. Oh, you know. The Camptown ladies sing this song, doo-dah, doo-dah. The Camptown racetrack 5 miles long, all the doo-dah day. One run all night, one run all day. 35 money on the ball tailgate, somebody get on the bay. One run all night, one run all day. 35 money. My temperature rising, higher and higher. It's burning through to my soul. Go, boy, that music gets the adrenaline going, don't it? We jumped out of 1 altitude at 3,000 feet. And these chutes they're foolproof, right? Well, as the king his own self said, they ain't got this whole wide world foolproof except in coupe de villes and hookers. Let me get this straight. I pull this? No, boy. You pull the yellow one first, that being your main chute. Then if that chute don't open, what you do then, you reach over here and pull the red one. That there being your auxiliary chute. Gilliam ready. Gilliam ready. You got it.
Okay, now, if by any chance I get like flustered, when I'm hurling through space, and I pull the red one first.
Oh, well then you're gonna wind up looking like a well-done chili burger. They're gonna have to shovel you into a coffin. But you can do it, son. You can do it. All right, fellas. It's just about showtime. LBC, light your fires.
This Pace commercial ran for what, 13 years or something like that?
Yep, 13 years. Yeah.
Well, come on up and,
All right.
ladies and gentlemen, Burton Gilliam.
I never eat with my hat on. Thank you.
Gonna move this chair. Yeah. Move that back. Okay. Well, so Burton was a fireman, but before you were a fireman, I want to go back to your fighting days.
Yeah.
You had a few fights.
Yeah, I was a fighter, boxer. I'm from Dallas, Texas, and went to Woodrow Wilson High School in Dallas. And when I was 17 years old, a senior, some people asked me to talk me into fighting in the Golden Gloves. And my next door neighbor and I fought in the Golden Gloves. We trained in my driveway. I had 3 gloves and a house shoe. The guy who wore the house shoe on his left hand could not hit with that. But we fought in the Golden Gloves, and as we were doing our weigh-ins, another coach from a team came over and said, "You're fighting unattached. That means you're not attached to a club." We said, "No, we're not." And he said, "You want to fight for our team?" And we said, "Well, sure, okay." The whole team, they had 8 other guys. So with us, we had 10. I won 4 fights and the championship. And my friend won 1 fight, and all the others won 1 fight together. We were a 2-man team anyway.
And you won a few of those, right? A few of your fights?
I won a few. Oh, yeah.
Like every one?
I went into the Coast Guard, and I was a all-service champion twice, 2 years in a row, and I never lost a fight. 28 fights in the Coast Guard, and then I got out, and then I went into Golden Gloves again, and I won more Golden Glove championships than anybody in the history of the sport. Thank you. It was just something and it was the first thing I'd ever done in my life where I was as good as or better than most people. I'd always considered myself an athlete, but I was not anything other than a good player. That was about it. But I was on a couple of teams with Muhammad Ali. Well, he was Cassius Clay back then. And we represented Chicago against New York 2 years in a row in 1959 and 1960, just before he was in the Olympics. And in both of those tournaments, he and I were the only winners for the Chicago team. We both knocked our guys out 2 years in a row. So we were a good team together.
Well, you must have been good because the nose is still pretty straight.
Yeah, well, you ought to see all the scars in the back of my head, though.
Wow. Well, what an amazing, whatever happened to Cassius Clay?
I have no idea. Nobody, he just faded away.
So that's a whole career right there. I mean, you had fighting, you had Coast Guard. You were in the Coast Guard for how long?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
And then you came back to Dallas?
Came back to Dallas,
joined the...
And I worked for a lumber company for about a year and a half, and then I became 21 years old. So I became a Dallas fireman and spent 14 years in the Dallas Fire Department. Everybody in my family, there have now been 10 of us in my family, an extended family, who have been firefighters. We've only got one left. Thank you. We've only got one left. My grandson, my youngest grandson, has been a fireman in Garland for a couple of years. But it was most... I always thought I should be doing something else. But it was what everybody in my family did. My brother, my father, brother-in-laws, son-in-laws, nephews, grandkids, 10 of us. And I guess some of them probably felt like because everybody else is in the family is a fireman, I will be too. But I think most of the others were probably better than I was as a fireman, because I knew there was something out there for me. I didn't know what it was that would be more social with people. And I did not get to, in the fire department, I didn't get to be the kind of social person that I wanted to be. If some kids or parents brought their kids by the fire station and wanted to look at the fire trucks, I was the guy that got to go out and tell them about all the fire apparatus and hose and nozzles and all of that stuff that goes into being part of an actor, and I liked that part of it.
They probably had a few babies dropped off at the fire station.
We didn't at our fire station, but we did have it other fire stations close by.
So you're a fireman, and you're there for how many years?
14
years. And you decide to go to an audition.
I was at the fire station one day, and I saw an article in the Dallas Times-Herald. Anybody remember the Dallas Times-Herald? Yeah. Been gone for, 30 years now or something?
Yeah.
And it said some big director by the name of Peter Bogdanovich, I'd never heard of him, said he was coming to Dallas to audition people to be something called extras in a picture called Paper Moon. And it said he had just directed Last Picture Show, which was showing at that time. And I thought, well, I don't know what an extra is, but it said Ryan O'Neal was the star of the show. And I thought, well, I might get to see Ryan O'Neal. And so the next day I went down to the Hilton Inn on the corner of Mockingbird and Central Expressway. And I almost did not go in because there was a lot of people. The paper the next day said 450 people showed up for this open audition. But I found a spot. The guy was backing out, and I pulled in, and I went up on the floor where they told everybody to go, and I go up there, and I mean a gang of people. I signed in, and I don't know, I thought about leaving, but I didn't. I started talking to people, and they were all people that did this extra thing, and I knew nothing about what they were talking about, But after about 2 hours, they called my name, and I go in. Thank God for a kid who was about 23 or 4 years old by the name of Gary Chasen, who was a casting director. First time he had been a casting director. He'd been an assistant in a couple of pictures. But he looked at me and he said, I kind of like the way you look. Sit down here, let me talk to you. How long have you been doing this extra stuff? And I said, I don't know. I've never. I came down here to see Ryan O'Neal. He said, Rhino's not here, and Peter McDonough isn't here. I'm kind of, doing his part for right now. And he said, well look, there's a part in this script for a one-liner. He said, read this one-liner. And I looked at it. He told me what led up to it and what followed after this one line. And the line was, make him say kite rope, Leroy. Leroy is having a fight with Ryan O'Neal over trading an old car for a brand new car so he can get away from a sheriff. So I read it, and he said, ooh, that sounds like what we might be looking for. He said, could you come back in a couple of weeks? And I said, yeah, I guess so. So a couple of weeks later, because he said, Peter will be here. So the next 2 weeks later, they called, and I went back, same place. And I went in, and nobody was there. They had weeded everybody out. And I finally, I go in to see Peter Bogdanovich. Now, here's the deal. Peter Bogdanovich was, and I love Peter. Oh, gosh. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be sitting here. He was laying back in a chaise lounge. He had his shoes off, shoes and socks off. He was in all white, and he had a red ascot. Sybil Shepherd was sitting right next to him, and she was feeding him little green grapes. I swear. And I reminded him of that a lot of times over the years. And he says, what part are you here for? I said, I don't know. The casting director says, she's here for the brother, and he says, Peter's laying in a chaise lounge. He said, okay, say what you got to say. I said, make him say kite rope, Leroy. And Peter sat up in the chaise lounge, and he did that. And I'm just kind of, I don't know what he's doing, but he's framing my face, and he said, you think you can handle the part of Floyd, the desk clerk? And I said, yes, sir, I sure can. I don't know who Floyd the desk clerk is. I knew the answer to the question, and it was yes. So he pitches me a script, and he said, go out in this other room here, and read Floyd. He's got 5 scenes, and he's the star of every scene. Go out and tell me the pages, and I go out, and there are 5 scenes, boom, 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 right in the middle of the script. And Sybil poked her head in about 10 or 15 minutes later. She says, are you ready to read? And I said, yes, ma'am, I guess so. She said, okay, well, I'm going to read the other parts. You just read the part of Floyd, the desk clerk. And I said, okay. We went back out, and at that time, there were about 9 or 10 people behind in this long conference table, and they were the writer, a guy by the name of Joe Sargent, and other producers, and all big mucky bucks. And I walked out there, and Peter said, now, I want you to walk around the room, pick up things, and read your lines, and turn the lights off, raise the curtains, do anything you want to do. I just want to see how you walk and talk and move. I said, okay. I said, but do I have to carry this script? And he said, well, you got to know the lines. And I said, oh, I just read the lines. I can do that. He said, you can do all those scenes? And I said, yeah, I think so. They don't know it, but they wrote that part for me. Yeah. I've never had done a part that I didn't have to work pretty hard at it. I just read those lines and they just came to me, just like that. It was just so easy. The character was just right up my alley, you know. Anyway, so Peter said, okay, here we go. So we started, and every time Floyd would say a line, the people would clap and whistle, and because Floyd is just the way you saw him, he's just a great character. And when I finished, they all stood up and clapped. And I just thought, well, that's what they do when you read. I've never had it happen since. I've never heard of it happening again. And when I got through, well, Peter said, come on, sit over here, let's talk to you. I did. Said, they all want to know what I did. You know, I'm a fireman. I'm just having a little fun here. And we talked for 5 or 10 minutes, and I left. And but I just knew that Peter Bogdanovich liked me, and Sybil loved me. Sybil loved me. That's a fact. She just said, honey, he's just so cute, you know. And I was kind of cute 50 years ago. That's what it was, a little over 50 years ago.
So did she ever feed you grapes, or that was just for Peter?
Yeah. Yeah, anybody in here want to volunteer to feed me grapes?
Okay, so you go and you do Paper Moon, and it took how long? 2 weeks, 4 weeks?
A week.
A week.
Just a week, but it was a hard week.
Okay.
I mean,
So you
one
took
right after the other.
vacation time, and you did Paper Moon. So you're back at the fire station, and you're sitting in the fire station waiting for a fire.
Waiting for a fire.
And so,
I go back to the fire station, and I never thought about doing anything again. I just thought it was a one-time thing. Although while I was working on the picture, everybody, actors and Brian O'Neill, everybody said, man, you ought to come to Hollywood. You get a lot of work. I said, oh, no, I got 14 years fire department. So
retirement to think of,
So I never even thought about it. I must have thought, if another picture comes to town, maybe I can get another job or something. I don't know.
So you're sitting in the fire station and you get a phone call.
I got a phone call, and I answered the phone, and at the fire station, you answer, thusly, you say, fire station number 39, Gilliam speaking. And this guy said, hi, my name is Mel Brooks, and I'm a writer, director, producer, actor, and I'm getting ready to do a big picture, and I want you to be one of my stars in the picture. And I said, thank you, Mr. Brooks. Boom. I just hung up the phone because I knew it was another fireman giving me a bad time. That's what firemen do, The whole fire department knew I'd taken my last week of vacation to go off and do this picture, and they hadn't seen it. It hadn't been released. This was 3 months, about 3.5 months after we had finished the picture, and I just thought that it was another fireman giving me a bad time. Well, I go outside, and I'm doing something outside, and my captain opened the door and said, hey, there's some guy on the phone. If you said his name is Mel Brooks, and he does something in movies. I said, Mel Brooks, that's what that guy said his name was a while ago. So I went in and picked up the phone, Gilliam speaking, and he said, this is Mel Brooks, don't hang up on me. I said, I never heard Mel Brooks, and he said, listen, really, I am getting ready to do a big picture. And I've done a lot of pieces. I've only directed 2 pictures, but I've been a writer for a lot of television shows. And he said, I want you to be in my picture. I want you to be one of my stars. And I said, I can't do that. No, I can't quit the part of that. Hey, I'm on Paper Moon. I made scale, $288 for the week. And I said, I just can't do that, because... and I thought he was talking about scale again. He said, well, look, would you come out and talk to me? I said, you're going to pay for me to come? He said, first class. 3 or 4 days later, I jump on an airplane. I fly first class. I never been first class on an airplane. Matter of fact, I've only been on an airplane a couple of times, I think. So I go and go to Hollywood, and this is a long story. But I met somebody on the airplane to start with, a guy named Bud Robinson. He was Doc Severinson's manager, and we struck up a conversation. This is back when, they didn't have, an airplane might be half full, and now if it's half full, they just cancel the flight. Well, I'm flying first class, boy. And he was right across the aisle, and he said, you're going to Hollywood? No, you're going to Las Vegas.
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, thank you very much. And I said, yeah. He said, what are you going to do out there? And I said, I'm going to see a guy named Mel Brooks. He said, Mel Brooks is a friend of mine. He said, where are you going to meet him? I said, Warner Brothers. He said, I live 2 blocks from Warner Brothers. Let me take you over there. And he asked, well, what are you doing? And I told him what had happened. So I go in to Mel Brooks' office. He lets me out at the gate. I go in. I go in, and the lady says, they're waiting for you in the office in there. And I walked in. There's a big, long a conference table, about 10 people there. I only recognized one person sitting there. But I knew that the guy that jumped up over the table, he weighed about 120 pounds, 5'6", jumped over the table and jumped up and ran over and jumped in my arms. And I've got him like a koala bear on me, And he said, this is the guy we want right here. Okay, well, we all laughed, and I went back, and they introduced me. He introduced me to everybody, pitched me a script, and said, we want you to do this part. Come back and see me tomorrow. Read the script. We're going to put you up at the hotel down here on Sunset Strip, and renting you a car here. And they were real nice to me. So I read the script, but I don't know anything about reading the script then. I couldn't. The only thing I knew is I could count the lines, and I could see there weren't many in there. So I went back to see him the next day, and I said, well, Mr. Brooks, I'd like to do your picture, but I can't do, there's nothing here. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, in Paper Moon, I had a lot to do. He said, well, that's the way the business works. Sometimes you got a big part. I said, well, I can't quit the fire department for this. He said, okay, well, we went home. Well, we went back, got on an airplane. About 3 days later, I got a phone call at home. And this guy said, I answered, he said, hey man, this is Richard. I said, Richard who? He said, Richard Pryor, man. Richard Pryor called me. He was one of our writers. So he said, we really want you to do this part, and we'd like for you to come back again and talk to us some more. I said, y'all flying me back out first class. Got to go back out there. Sit down in front of Mel Brooks. He gives me the script, take it to the hotel, come back the next morning, I read it, and I said, whoa, this is a really nice part now. I might like to talk to you about it, but I just don't think y'all can give me the money I need to do it. He said, oh, go around and see the casting department. That's what they do. That's their business. That's partly true, but not big time true. So I went around, this lady kept saying, well, Mr. Gilliam, there's really no money in this part. She said that about 3 times, and I got up and said, thank you, ma'am. I went back and got on an airplane, went back to Dallas, and the next morning about noon, I got a phone call from Mel Brooks. He said, what happened? I said, y'all don't have any money. How much money did she offer you? I said, she didn't offer me anything. She said, there's no money in this part. He said, I'll call you back. Called me back in about 10 minutes. He said, I want you to be on the next plane coming out here because I want to talk to you.
Third time. Third time.
It's the third time. I go out there and I sit down in front of him, and he says, and he could have asked me on the phone, and I told him. But he said, how much it going to get to cost us? I said, well, and I knew then they want me pretty bad. I don't know why, but they do. I said, well, you know, at the fire department, now this is early 1973. I said, well, you know, at the fire department, I make $12,000 a year. And here I am talking to a multimillionaire, and I'm making $12,000 a year. Doesn't make sense. And I said, I could not quit the fire department for any less than I make in a whole year. Here I am coming off $288 a week. And he said, well, that's 3 weeks. That's $4,000 a week. That's okay. Wow. I could not believe it. And as it turned out, I really had 4.5 weeks on the picture. And with overtime, I made $25,000.
Yeah.
I never thought about making $25,000 in a year. And here I was, and I went out, did the picture, came back, and just as Blazing Saddles was finished, Paper Moon was being released in the middle of June, about the 10th of June. I went, and Paramount called me and asked me if I would work on the promotion for the picture, go around the South. I went to 10 cities in Texas and Louisiana and Florida. And I didn't even know what I was doing. But they paid me a lot of money. A lot of money, because big stars don't really like to do that sort of stuff. But I found out that I had already found out on 2 pictures that what I didn't know, I could still put a big smile on my face and give a story, and they would not lie, well, maybe a little lie, but but I could just have fun with it, and I did. Went back to Dallas, got all my stuff, put it in a U-Haul, and took it back to California, where I stayed for 24 years. Met my wife out there, my second wife, and yeah, I'll tell you this. After I'd been there about 4 or 5 weeks, some people asked me to MC a show down at the Balboa Bay Club, down in the South Bay, where John Wayne was a member.
Orange County, Newport. Yeah.
Yeah, you know the
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
Okay. And I said, sure, I can do that. Never done it before, but I knew I could, and I did. The day before I was to go down, they called me and they said, listen, there's a girl that she's going to be our entertainment. She's a singer from Phoenix, kind of new out here, trying to, make her way in the movie business or singing business. And I said, they said, would you bring her down, pick her up? And I said, well, sure. It's over in Studio City, about 5 minutes away from me.
Are you sure you want to tell this story?
I'm not going to tell you all of it.
Okay.
So I knocked on the door of her apartment, and she opened the door, and I said, whoa. And anyway, I took her down there. She went with me, and the next day, we spent the night with the people who were putting on this whole thing in a great mansion down in wherever this is down there. And the next day, we got up and had breakfast with them, and we loaded the car up, then we were going back. And as we pulled out of the driveway shortly after, she said, have you ever been down to the Laguna Inn? And I said, no, I'm new. She said, well, I have. Let's go take a look.
This is being recorded. So.
Okay. And so we went over to the Laguna Inn, looked all around, and she said, why don't we just spend the night here? And Oh, I'm sorry. I've never told this in front of a camera before.
Whatever became of her?
What?
Whatever became of her?
I have no idea. She just faded away. Well, I will say though, for the next 7 months, we were an item. Yeah, that
She
would
was.
be a good thing.
Should I tell who she is?
No.
Oh,
But she was really, you look at it, you say, oh, boy, this is a wonder right here. She really was. Well, she wasn't a wonder then. But a year and a half later, she became Wonder Woman. That'd be Linda Carter.
yeah.
So, and then we went together for about 7 months, and then I met my wife. I don't know if there's anybody that has ever told Linda Carter, Linda, I think I found someone else, you know. Oh boy. But anyway, hello. And she was just so nice about it. Gosh, what a great girl she is. I've only talked to her 4 or 5 times since then, but we always laugh about it. It's fun. So Linda
Well,
Carter,
all the people you worked with over the years. I mean,
oh gosh, wow. Burt Reynolds became my very best friend. Gosh, Bob, Ryan O'Neill and Madeline Kahn and gosh, all those people and John Duke Wade. He was the apartment that I was living in, right above Warner Brothers and the back lot of Universal. He was doing his last picture there called The Shootist at Warner Brothers, a block away. And he lived down in the South Bay, so they didn't want him to have to drive every day an hour down there to get down there. So they got him an apartment there. And I saw him out by the pool a couple of days as the sun was going down. And then one day, he just started walking towards me. You know, you can feel like this guy's coming over to me. And he said, he introduced himself. He said, I'm John Wayne. Like, really? And he said, you were in Blazing Saddles. And of course, Blazing Saddles hadn't been released yet. And I said, yeah. He said, well, I know it's going to be a real funny movie. Mel Brooks asked me to be in the picture. I said, what? I didn't know that, but he had. He wanted him to play the Waco Kid, which was the part Gene Wilder played. He said, but I couldn't do it. You know, John the Duke was clean all the way through. So he didn't do it, but he became a friend and went to his birthday party about a year later. Gosh, I've worked with some of the big people. I worked with Robert Mitchum on his last picture.
wow.
Gosh, I can't even think of all the people. Jerry Reed and blah, 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 blah.
You got to have a million stories. We're gonna open up for questions in a minute, but I mean, what a story, you know, from fighter and Coast Guard fireman to starring in some 52 movies.
And now I've done 52 movies, and I've done 146 television shows, and I've done over 200 commercials. So, thank you, Mel. You know,
Yeah. Well, it's pretty amazing. Like I said, we're going to open up for questions, but before we wrap it up, we heard Mattress Mac earlier.
Yeah.
So, and he gave us a lot of motivation. And I know you do some motivational speaking.
Yeah.
What's a motivational thought you'd leave us with?
Just to make things short, there's everybody who does not feel like he's behind the 8 ball to start with, but if he feels like he is on par with maybe not the big the big folks, but the average folks, if he feels like he's on par, all he needs to do is say, I can do whatever it is that I want to do. I know better than anybody. There are things I haven't told you about me that we're in the process of writing a book right now. People have been after me, writers, for about 15 years. We're in the process now. We're about 30-40% through. And I know what it takes to lift yourself up just a little. And if you lift yourself up and you seek the right people to work with you on making you better, you may have a mentor, but they don't know they're a mentor. And that's what I did when I knew the last 2 or 3 years of being a fireman that there was something else out there for me. I didn't know what it was, but I started then at my church. There was a guy that just, he was in the used car business, but boy, he did real big in Dallas. And he and his wife became really good friends, and he was just a mentor to top all of them. And he just told me that the sky was the limit for me, even though here I was, a fireman, knowing, now fireman, that's a good job. I mean, a really good job. But I knew that, I didn't know that I'd ever make more money than that, but I knew there was something that would be more fulfilling if that was working on the back of a trash truck. If I liked it, that would be good, you know. So I would just say, if, you know, all you folks in here are successful. You're successful. And I'll bet you, if you look back on your life sometime, you will think, you will find somebody who meant something to you that swayed you and pushed you in a direction that put you on a higher level. And you just, it's all about having a mentor to bring you along. And I had, golly, after I got into business, I had 4 or 5, man, I had 4 or 5 that were really big. You know, Burt Reynolds was just so good to me. And I wish I'd taken even more of a responsibility to let him just come into my heart. This again.
It's a noisy heart.
If I had just said, come on in, Bert. You know, he was my best friend, but I'd never really let him come all the way in. But anyway, if you find somebody who needs a mentor, be one for them. Be one for them. Give your best to somebody who really needs your help.
That's good advice. And especially in this business, you know, mentoring people and serving people, we all in broadcasting serve people every day in different ways.
Every day, you guys are meeting new people, talking to new people, talking up your stations, your equipment, or whatever it is that you got. You meet new people all the time, and every now and then you're going to meet somebody who needs the help.
Open up for questions real quick, and then, yeah. Okay.
No, I actually had multiple, but I don't want to bore the conversation. It's such a pleasure to be in the room with you tonight. And I've heard you mention Warner Brothers several times, and I know they're celebrating their 100th anniversary this year. Have they, a couple of things, have they reached out to you and said, come be a part of our celebration? Do Do you need me to make a call?
Yes, that would.
I'll make a call for you. And secondly, so you started your acting career after the golden era of studio contracts.
Oh, yeah,
So-
the contracts had gone away.
Had gone away. So when you went out to Hollywood and spoke to
Mel Brooks.
Mel, thank
Yeah.
you. Peter, Mel,
Yeah.
John,
Yeah.
whatever. How did you get hooked up with an agent or a management firm? I mean, did they bring them to you or did you
They,
seek them out?
you know what? Getting an agent is supposed to be the hardest thing in the world to do. Yeah, and back then it was too, 50 years ago. But when you have been hired by Mel Brooks and you're working with all the top actors and actresses that I was working with, and they are sending you to see their agents every time I had an afternoon or a morning off, it was, all of them wanted to sign me. And
That was kind of like a carte blanche on.
it was, yeah. But they knew that I was going to do something, not just because I was sent by the right people, but I know that I had I didn't go in as a flamboyant guy. Went in to their offices as, but not as a shy guy. I just gave them who I was, you know, and if they liked it, well, boy, that's good, and they all liked it.
Being Texan always works.
That does work.
And secondly, last question, what is in your future? I heard a little bit of rumblings that maybe you're talking to Mel in the near future.
Yeah, I'm going to do we think in September, but it could be a little later than that, October maybe. Warner Brothers in 1974, in 2024, we'll be celebrating 100 years in the movie business. Blazing Saddles in 2020. What's the number?
50 years.
50. They'll be
50 years.
They're going to be celebrating 50 years. They're going to combine them, and I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff out there to.
You don't need my help.
Hey, I need all the help I can get. You kidding? Thank you.
And we have another question here, but and correct me if I'm wrong, but when you went out to Hollywood, you didn't have cowboy boots or a hat?
Nope.
And he said, "I'm not a cowboy." And they said, "You are now."
You're a cowboy. I said, oh, okay. I was out there about probably 6 months, and I was doing cowboy stuff. And so I decided I'd buy the whole war, you know, the hat, the boots, the shoes, the shirts, and all that stuff. And it worked. I was just the newest cowboy in town with a good following of people, having done, you know, the movies I'd done. Here I was doing more television shows, so it was fine.
I got a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
And my name is Amanda Sapp. I'm the general manager of Amazing 102.5 FM. It's a community radio station in Houston. What was the most challenging role you played, and how did it impact your personal growth as an actor and as a person?
Ah, now you are talking. That, and I've got it, man. It's for a television show that was, they used to have movies of the week. And the movie of the week was really a pilot for a series. They just called it a movie of the week. And it was called The Girl, the Gold Watch, and Everything. It was about a gold watch that had magical things to it. And I did the part, gosh, I wish I could call the guy's name. I was a goofy, I've played a lot of goofy guys. Maybe that tells you something. I can't call it Hexter somebody. Anyway, it was a great character who really kind of took over the show. And the show was, what was the girl's name on, oh gosh, when you get 85 years old.
Pretty good memory, though.
You know? Golly.
That doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. The greatest comedian in the world who killed himself.
Oh, Robin Williams. Robin Williams?
Robin Williams. What was the girl's name on the show he did?
Yeah.
Yeah, Pam Dawson.
Pam Dawson.
She was the
More
star
comedian, big show.
of the show.
Yeah.
And she called me and she said, they really want you to do this show. And they want you to have the third lead in it. And I said, oh, okay, so I'll do it. So I did do it. And I mean, it was, I had so many lines that I didn't know that I could do that many lines. I mean, it was work, and hard lines with words that just didn't make sense to me, but I did them. And it was the one job that I ever did. The sequel to it was called The Girl, The Go Watch, and Dynamite. And I learned more about who I was on that picture than anything I ever did. And I remember that when I finished my part, they had a van pull up, and we were out on the desert somewhere, and I sat in the back of the van. There were a couple of people set up in the front, and I took off, and we'd wrapped on the picture, and it was just so emotional for me to find out that I could carry a show. You give me a show and I can carry the thing. And I sat there and I boo-hooed.
Wow.
The finest things in my life that have happened to me have been very emotional to me. I won Golden Glove championships that I wasn't supposed to win. And boy, when I was the underdog, that guy was in trouble because I was scared to death. And if I was scared, he's going to get wiped out. I got snuck up on. I had 217 fights, and I won 201 of them. I was snuck up on. Was it sneaked or snuck?
It works either way.
Okay.
In Texas, I think it's snucked. Snucked up
I was
on.
snuck up on, all but 2 or 3.
Last question.
Okay, go ahead.
Last question. When you look back on your acting journey, what legacy do you hope to leave behind, both in terms of your work on screen and the impact you had on fellow actors and the industry as a whole?
Oh, boy. Man, you must have set up all last night. I have to put my family next in line, and I want my kids. I have children who are now 63 years old and 59 years old. That's just awful, But I've got kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids, and I want to leave a legacy for them. None of them, so far, have ever showed any interest in being an actor. My granddaughter, Holly Weiss, look her up, V-I-S-E, Hollie, she was the world champion. She was a gymnast and world champion. And then on the American team, United States team, plus she won the individual balance beam. And then after she finished her international career, she wanted to go to college. And she went to the University of Oklahoma. They had never finished higher than 5th any year. First year, they finished 2nd. The next 3 years that she was there, they were the NCAA champions. She was an NCAA champion 13 times.
Amazing, yeah.
I'm real proud of her.
Yes.
What about your family? And you told us about a couple of your members of your family.
Okay, my father was
Your kids?
my father was a fireman, a great fireman. Everybody loved him. I want to one day be just like my dad. He was loved by everybody. And when I was boxing, I mean, on the night of the fights, and in Dallas, this is back during big time Golden Gloves. And I must say, I was part of big time Golden Gloves. I could bring in 9,500 people. I mean, I could. There were other fighters there too, you know, but they always, I was the guy, I guess. And my brother was a fireman. He went on and became the chief of the Richardson, Texas Fire Department. My brother-in-law became the fire chief of the Mesquite Fire Department. Then the others have all had great careers. Gosh, that I'm just real proud of all of them. The girls, the grandkids that are girls, grandkids, they're just all top-notch people. I'm so proud of them, and you know what? They're proud of me.
Yeah. And, you know, I might add too, just so we wrap this up, is he's a great golfer. He does a lot of celebrity golf tournaments all around the country. So.
I've played everywhere, and I've played with Arnold Palmer, and I've played with Jack Nicklaus, and I never played with what's his name? Yeah, but I've played with all the big ones, you know, and I've had just a wonderful time.
Yeah, what's amazing too, you go out to eat with people always recognizing, you know. Okay, well, we've got a little presentation for you. I got something special for you from the Golden Mike Club. So we had it specially wrapped.
Oh, I can see that.
Special bubble bath. So we'll,
Put a lot of time into that.
Oscar, you want to help make the presentation?
Oh, wow.
This is,
Whoa.
oh man.
It's a trophy. Whoa.
Hey.
And it says, Texas Association of Broadcasters Golden Mike Club, and it's got my name on it. Burton Gilliam. That's it. And you know what? Over the years, because of acting and doing whatever I do, being involved with different things, I've received a lot of nice things like this. And I guess that's just part of trying to be a part of your community, you know? And so thank you, folks. This is very special. I'm so glad. Thank you.
Thank you. And Oscar and the president.
Thank you. Oh, wow.
Thank you very much. And thank everybody for coming. So.
Yes, thank you, folks. I appreciate y'all being a part of honoring me. This is real nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.